Hello, today I'm going to be showing you guys my process for fixing up this trombone mouthpiece. So it needs polishing, the shank is out of round, the rim is all chewed up as you can see. It needs to be cleaned, so I'll show you guys my remedy for that. So here I'm taking a mixture of Dawn dish soap and vinegar and just giving the mouthpiece a quick scrub with the mouthpiece brush. You can do that, give it a little rinse, and then let it soak in that solution for several minutes. So after several minutes, I wasn't exactly counting, I think it was about 5 or 7 minutes, I came back to it, pull it out of the solution, and give it another scrub and rinse before I start working on rerounding the shank. So here I am back at my workbench. I have selected a mouthpiece arbor that fits snug into the end of the shank, but also not too loose down in the throat, so that I don't cause any further damage. And I am precisely targeting the highest spots on the shank, and just giving them individual taps with the canvas mallet so that I don't work more than is necessary, just one tap at a time. And it's very important to note here that I'm not trying to get a perfect result here in this step. I'm just trying to rough it in so that I can do the final touches with the dent ball, as you'll see in the next section. And once I've gotten the shank to about 80 or 90% round, I move on to a new set of tools. It's a dent ball holder, a trombone mouthpiece receiver, so that the dent ball has something to push up against, and a dent ball that just fits just so in the end of the shank. So now I set up the receiver and the dent ball holder like so, and I use the rawhide mallet to combo tap the dent ball through the crooked rim of the shank, being careful not to hammer too hard and not letting the dent ball push all the way through to expand the shank. I just want to round the rim. So I keep doing this until the rim of the shank gets rounder, and I notice the dent ball passing a little bit further down into the shank. And then at that point, I will switch to a slightly larger dent ball so I can keep targeting just the rim. So here I've switched to a slightly larger dent ball, and I will be using that to do the last sort of 5% of rounding the rim of the shank. before I move on to next step. So once I'm content with how round the shank is, I will just quickly deburr it using a Kratex wheel on the bench motor. So after I've removed all the burrs from the edge of the shank, I will be mounting it back on a mouthpiece arbor and using my curved burnishing tool with just a few drops of tuning slide grease. And then I will chuck the mouthpiece, or chuck the arbor with the mouthpiece on it, making sure to free spin the chuck before I turn the bench motor on. I skipped a step, and that would have been wiping the jaws of the chuck. I should have done that. And then I will put my body in a position where I can push as hard as I can. Ideally, I should have been standing for this. I think you can get much better results if you can put your whole body weight into it. You're much less likely for the burnisher to slip. And I'm pushing as hard as I can, pretty much using the fatty part of my thumb to push the burnisher into the rim of the mouthpiece to try and smooth out the kind of the pits and the dents. And then I'll repeat this process until I'm content with how smooth the rim of the mouthpiece is. With this particular mouthpiece, it's just an example for the video. There's way too many pits for me to be able to get them out with the burnisher. If it's that bad, I would typically recommend that a customer or a student just replace the mouthpiece. Or if it's your own mouthpiece, just buy a new one. I didn't record the following step, but after using my burnisher to do something like this each time, I will go into the buffing room and buff it back to a mirror finish so that it's as smooth as possible and I can get a nice finish on anything I'm working on. So after that's complete, I will wipe all the oil off of the mouthpiece and, like I said, go buff my burnisher. And then I will get a piece of blue cloth or a polishing cloth or something like that and put just a little bit of silver polish on it. And then mount my mouthpiece back on the bench motor using the arbor. And so to start polishing, I will start with the cup and rim of the mouthpiece and push as hard as I can towards the bench motor. For one, just so that I can polish thoroughly, and for two, because the mouthpiece is sticking out more than 3 times its diameter from the bench motor, it is not safe to leave it unsupported from the other end. So while I'm polishing the entire mouthpiece, I will be putting pressure with my thumb from the rim towards the bench motor, and then just kind of using the cloth to get into all the nooks and crannies, sticking my fingernail into the little scrolls on the mouthpiece, and making sure I've thoroughly polished the mouthpiece while the bench motor is spinning, of course. So at this point, I will wipe all the excess silver polish off, make sure the mouthpiece is clean, and At this point, I'm avoiding touching it with my fingers to not get any fingerprints on the mouthpiece and to avoid tarnishing it. Again, I'll remove it from the arbor, clean up my workbench, and then go give it one final rinse. Here I'm just using warm water just to rinse all the silver polish off. You don't want to give a mouthpiece with silver polish on it to a customer or a student because it'll taste really bad, and obviously it's not good for you to ingest that. I'm just drying it off quickly with a paper towel. It may be better to use a dry polishing cloth as well, but I think a paper towel works fine for this. And again, I'm just handling it either with the paper towel or by the worn part of the shank so that I'm not adding any fingerprints to the upper part of the shank or the outside of the cup of the mouthpiece. And with that, we're done.